Okay, here's a video that I've had some requests for, and that's how to restring your guitar. So I'm going to do an acoustic guitar first, and then we can go over electrics later. Electrics, there's a lot more variants. We've got, Stratocaster, Floyd Rose, hardstyle tremolos, a bunch of different variations that way, tail pieces, Bigsby tremolos. So there's a lot more territory there. Most acoustics, now this will be steel string acoustic. So there also is classical acoustic, which is we have ties, which we might as well do a video on. Sorry, my camera's having a hard time focusing right now. Anyway, so here we'll go over what you need, your tools. Now I'm gonna do it fairly basic because there's a lot of different versions of stuff out there. We're gonna go over cleaners, that type of stuff, and then how to actually do the restring. Now. I'll be doing this on it's a brand new guitar. It's one of my shop guitars that's been hanging on the wall. So the strings really aren't like tonally dead yet, but they are definitely corroding from all the different hands and gunk. And I have no idea how old actually they are because these were the ones that were on the guitar from the factory. So they're starting to corrode and starting to look kind of bad. So I decided we'll just use this one and we'll go over conditioning the fretboard and stuff like that. All right, let's cover tools. Okay, so for tools, there's a lot of different variant things you can use. Everything from a pair of pliers. These are the bridge pins, but what I use mostly in a set of restrings is just a small set of hobby wire cutters. Now these are I think they call these a 4-inch, but just really, so you get close up. So these are just, come on, focus. These are just a real small set of hobby pliers, nothing crazy. These are these are the Ace, oops, there we go. Ace hardware, nothing, is that the right, anyway, the Ace hardware set, so these are like $5. And these, last me, year and a half before the blades right here start to get worn and not cut strings very well. So for your average person, you're gonna buy one set of these and you're set for life. I changed hundreds or thousands of sets of strings every year, so your average person, those are forever. And I use these the most. Like, that is the most common tool I use for doing restrings, because I use these to pull the bridge pins and also to cut the strings. And also I actually use these to get, like, if I have a string break off around the machine head, the post of the machine head up here, which I'll see if I can show you, then I use these to actually get that broken end off. You can actually use this just kind of like a little pair of mini pliers, stick it on that string, just kind of pull it, and then you're not puncturing your fingers. The other thing that you will need mostly is some cleaning rags. Old t-shirt works. I use it's called the Scott's Shop towels. They're just like a really hefty paper towel, and that's all they are. That's because I use tons of this stuff. The other thing I use, my favorite cleaner, is actually this one. It's called Lizard Spit. So this is just for the finish. So for your body, back of the neck, that type of stuff. It's not for the fretboard. Fretboards don't have a finish on it. So this, this won't really hurt it that much, but if you use it continually on it, it will start to dry it out because there is basically a soap or a cleaner in this, and that's all this is. So this technically, I know it says polish, but usually a polish will have some sort of a grit in it that will actually buff, sand out those fine scratches and bring it all back up. This is just a cleaner, and there's no oils, there's no waxes, anything like that. So this isn't going to build up over time, and this cleans off almost everything. The only thing I haven't had it, like stickers, like this, the adhesive off of a sticker, like if someone sticks a sticker on their guitar, this won't take that off. You'll have to use the best thing I've found for that is Goo Gone, or just straight up alcohol. But alcohol, you have to be careful, because if you have a nitrocellulose finish, nitrocellulose lacquer, then it will fog it. it'll blush it. So I would, for a sticker, I always say use Goo Gone. It seems to be the most safe for almost all finishes. I haven't found one that it's reacted with yet, so that is my go-to for stickers on your finish. Now for the fretboard, I have used many different products. I've used the Lizard Spit version. They have a fretboard conditioner, and have used it for years and years and years. Right now, at this particular moment, I am using one. Let's clean off this bottle because it's kind of oily. It's the Dr. Duck's Axe Wax, and this is meant to condition the board and like clean the finish, everything like that. And this is one you can use this on the finish. I personally have found it's a lot of buffing to get it back off, because this does have a little bit it's more or less an oil. So it really does, like if you have an old guitar that's pretty, that has kind of satined or is not real high gloss, this will help that a lot. But for a lot of your guitars like this one, which is just a polyurethane finish, man, you have to work a long time to get this back off. So this isn't my favorite for finish, but for fretboards it is really nice. It does soak in rather well. It's more or less odor free. There's a slight, kind of a mineral oil smell, so it's not anything you're gonna smell. The Lizard Spit fretboard conditioner uses an orange oil, so it has kind of a citrusy smell, which is fine. It's pleasant. It's not overbearing or anything like that. But I'm just trying this one out for now, seeing how I like it, and thus far I've really liked it. I also use this in my French polish. Now, French polishing is a shellac oil and alcohol mixture, but I've been using this as the oil because it's just a really refined oil. And so I'll show you this, how to apply this onto the fretboard and the difference it makes once you rehydrate that board. Now the other thing you'll need, which I always recommend, is a tuner, a clip-on style. This is the D'Addario Eclipse. I also use the Snarks. I use Cherubs. There's a handful of them that I use interchangeably. It's just kind of whatever I have sitting on the bench at the moment. But I do like the clip-on style tuners. So today I've got the Eclipse here, and of course it's in green because that's my favorite color. Anyway, other than that, I do use a power winder. You can also use a peg winder, but this is what actually I use. It's a Ryobi. It's a high speed. So this one actually has two different settings. You can go for 1 or for 2, so 2 is really zippy. This is the D'Addario Turbo Tune. This also has a handle that you can put on it. Let me see if I can find that. Here's the handle. And so like a lot of your peg winders are going to look something like this, where you stick it on the tuner and then you crank to tune it. I just take this off, and so this has the drill attachment on it, and I just hook it to my drill because I do hundreds of restrings. Now these tools, and most peg winders have this. Let's see if you can see this little notch right here. They make that notch for doing bridge pins. So this is meant to come in, stick over the bridge pin, and on this one it actually doesn't actually work very well because they're so tight. But they just come in, you put them around the bridge pin, and you just pull up. Now it does work. These are good because they tend not to mar the pegs or of any kind. My problem with these is they just wear out too quickly. Now for your home use, it's fine. You're changing your strings once, maybe twice a year. Your average player. Me, I'm changing 5-6 sets a day averagely. And so they just don't wear that well. So yeah, I just use this upper part. Now this one also is glow in the dark. That's not a big deal. I also have one of these that's in black. That was the old Dunlop Turbo Tune that was around before D'Addario purchased this. patent, but this is what I use all the time. And this Ryobi one is the one I found that has the faster speed on it. You know, it'd be cool to have a higher end tool, I guess. Ryobi's not, you know, this is, I think, $40, the drill part. But anyway, you know, it's not too expensive, but, you know, unless you're changing a lot of strings, it doesn't make sense. But for me, yeah, I'm doing this fast enough I need to. Yeah, so at some point you'll be hearing this. Sorry for the noise, but you're gonna hear it. It's live. Sometimes you'll need a 10mm socket to tighten the tuners. We'll go over that, but that's not every time. That's usually just if you haven't restrung for a long time and they've worked loose. But I'll show that here in just a minute. Okay. Oh, and then of course you'll need your set of strings. This one I'm going to put D'Addario strings on it. These are just the standard phosphor bronze light set. There's a whole bunch of different gauges, sizes, materials. If you want to see a video about what's the difference in strings, put a comment down below, let me know, because there's tons and tons of differences, and we can just do a basics, you know, phosphor 80-20 bronze, nickel bronze, you know, silk and steel, that type of stuff for acoustics. There's nickels for, you know, nickel wound pro steels, that type of stuff, flat wounds, all that good stuff we can go over for electrics as well. Okay, let's get to the restring. So first off, we're going to, I pulled some of these pins out. First off, you want to detune. So right now this guitar is not exactly in tune, but these strings are starting to go a little dark. They're a little crusty looking. So let's start there. Now I'm just gonna stick this on. When we do the tune-up, I'll show the headstock on how to tune it up, and you'll see this in action more. For right now, I'm just gonna do it off camera as far as the tune down, just to get this moving faster. Okay, so there's everything tuned down. So I'm actually going to take this, I'm going to pull one of these and I'll bring this closer. So you have your bridge pin. Ooh, focus, come on. Okay, so you have your bridge pin, and as what I do is I take these, you'll see there's a little lip. So you have the top of your peg here, and you'll see there's a little lip right here, a little recess. And that's where I stick the blades of my cutters. Come on, focus. This is hard when it's this close. So I just take and stick those blades just like that, just in that little groove, and then you don't want to pinch, you know, because you can actually just chop. If these are plastic, these are actually ebony that I'm holding now. But if they're plastic, you can actually take, and if you crimp on it like that, you can actually just cut the head off. So you just want to put it there, and then I just use it to pull up. You know, so that's my leverage. So I just stick it on there and just pull straight up, and that pops the pins out. Now you want to loosen it first. Otherwise, when you pop that pin out, you're going to have a guitar string flying at you. So I just take this, and you can see why I use this tool. It's super fast, super quick. I'm not squeezing. I'm just holding it just like this and just using it like a pry bar. And the other thing is, make sure you kind of wrap your hand around that so you're not dragging this tool across your finish. Just set these off to the side of the guitar. These pop right out, and there's just a ball end. You can kind of see right here. These are just a ball end to the string, and those fit down in these bridge pin holes. I'm just going to take and pull these off the tuners because they're just wrapped around the tuner. So nothing crazy there. So you'll see when I'm done, there's all the crazy little ends. Yeah, you can kind of see the ends there. Now I always take and coil these up like this, and then just run these through a couple times before I throw these away. And that's just to keep them in a smaller bundle, because if you have and like I said, for most people this isn't gonna be a big deal, but for me, where I redo this so much, I don't need this like big gnarly ball of guitar strings sitting in my garbage can taking up space. So this just keeps everything a little more compact. And that's all 6 strings, just like that, so nothing crazy. Alright, now Now if I could actually get them in the trash can. So the next thing I do is I actually clean the finish. And you can, I mean, you can condition the board. Excuse me. You can either clean the board or do the finish first. It doesn't really matter. They both have to get done. Some people will condition first, and then if they get a little overspill, then they will, you know, clean the body afterwards to get the oils off, because this will cut the oils. What I normally do is I clean the body first, get the gunk off, then I condition the board, and then after I get it restrung up, I will usually have a big handprint right here from tuning the guitar, and so I'm respraying just a little bit to clean off my fingerprints, and so I just clean around the board afterward if there's any little specks or anything. So for me, it's nothing crazy. You just 4-ish sprays, can be more, could be less, depends on how dirty your guitar is. And then I just take one of these, and I actually I just tear it, nothing fancy. I use about a half, you know, just so it's hand size, and just kind of clean that down. Now, of course, this one, really, there's just a little bit of dust and a few customer fingerprints from trying the guitar, and that's it. And I normally just clean the top right now, and then I'll clean the back and the sides and the back of the neck after I'm done. And that way, that's just because when I put this in the case, I want it to be fingerprint free. And if I clean this all first, then I'm handling it, checking, tuning, whatever, then I have my big handprints on there. So that's why I clean it like the very last thing as far as the rest of it. But right here is way easier to do without the strings on. And of course, it's not going to get very dirty once I put the strings back on there anyway. All right, I'm going to move you, and we're going to check out the board. Okay, so this is the fretboard, and you can kind of see this is a rosewood board. It's got the color striping in it. Now, one thing I want you to just pay attention of is the actual color of it, because when we put oil on this, it will kind of change. It'll go a darker color, and that's just because you're adding the oil to it. Now, normally what I do is, you know, I haven't got this very wet, and it's almost dry now from the cleaning the top. And I just take and kind of fold it up. I'm going to make me a little application pad. Put one of the sides that's the driest, you know, out on the outside. And what I normally do, like if the board is really dry, then I actually just take this and just kind of run a little bead down like that. If you've done it frequently and the board isn't really dehydrated, you can just put a little spot on the rag and just wipe it down. This one is a little dry, so it's going to soak up a lot. And then you're just going to take this and just kind of start spreading that around. Use your pad, work it in. You're going to notice with the frets, it's going to like keep some areas from sticking down as much, and you're going to start seeing that color change. Now, of course, it's going to be a little shiny, so the reflection is going to be on there. But as this starts to soak in, you'll see it goes a much darker, richer color. I don't know if we can get this without the reflection in it. Maybe a little bit. Yeah, you can kind of see here how much darker that went. You know, it really went a lot darker color. Now, this was pretty dry, so it really just took and soaked that right in. And now I'm just going to just kind of sweep off the little fuzzies that got on there, just like that. And that's really all there is as far as conditioning the board. Now, if you have really tarnished frets, so at some point, if you want to see about, you know, rebuffing the frets and that type of stuff, we can go over something like that. I use some scuffy style pads. They're for automotive work, auto paint anyway, and they work really, really well just to kind of quickly do these. But I can go through like a full mirror buff if you want. That's much more involved. Anyway, but here's just your basic, you know, it's conditioned, it's ready to go. You can see that oil is actually already soaked in, you know, there's nothing there. This was actually a pretty dry board, and you could actually take this one as quick as that soaked in. We could apply a second coat, and it would probably soak it mostly in too, because this is, you know, brand new, never had oil applied, so it really soaked it in. But I really like the color that these go, because it just really richens up that color. Okay, so now we're here at the bridge. We got the fretboard conditioned, and now we're just working here at the bridge. We're actually going to start putting in the ball ends. See if I can get this to focus. So you can see that little ball end on the end of that string. There it goes. So that is the part that we're actually going to put down in the bridge pinholes. You see there's 6 of them, 6 strings. Now this little ball end is going to go in. Yeah, well, okay. Focus is going to be a little bit hard. Anyway, grab the pin. So what you're going to do, you're going to take this ball end and you're just going to set it right there in the, I'm going to see if I do this without getting my hands in the way. You're just going to push it right down in that hole. And then on the bridge pin, see if it'll focus. In the bridge pin, there is a slot, and that one is really hard to see. There's, maybe we'll see there. You can see the slot there in the pin. So the other side's all around, and there's the slot. So that slot is for the string to go in. So we're going to line that up. So there's the string, the ball end down in, put that slot there, and just going to push that down until that seats. Now, what you're going to want to do is take a hold of this string and actually just give it a little bit of a tug. Make sure that that is seated all the way. Because basically what that ball end, grab another string here, that ball end is going to go down and then lock, the pin's going to push it off to the side of the hole, and it's going to lock up against the bottom of the guitar top. And there's actually a bridge plate glued on the inside of the top. So that's what that's going down in there for. Now, these strings are color-coded, so you can tell which string goes where. And the packaging has the legend, I guess you'd call it, instructions which one's which. So this one's the G, the green is the G. I'm just going to hurry and slot these in so we can get moving on. And normally, this is really awkward because I'm trying to do it with a camera in between my arms. But normally, I just line these all up in my hand. Well, I'll do the other 3, so I just line these up like this. And then I can just grab the one that I need. Drop that in. So I'm just kind of tugging on that as I seat that so that I know that ball end is up against the top. Because what happens if you catch, sometimes that ball end will catch on the bottom of the pin, and then as you're tuning the guitar, that tension pulling straight up on that pin, this pin will go pop, and it'll just fly straight out of the guitar, and then you've got to find it and all that other stuff. Anyway, so there's the strings in position on the bridge side. Now the saddle here, these actually come out. So like if you move your guitar and this falls out, you don't have to worry it's not glued in or anything like that. It just sits in there by tension. And the way you know where to place it, if you look at this, so on most steel strings, they're going to have this kind of the set back right here. So this is called intonation. And that intonation is for the B string, so the second from the top. So it's always going to orient this way. So the little notch is right there underneath the B string. All right, let's go up to the headstock. Okay, so here we are at the headstock. Now, what we're going to do up here is the method that I learned doing Taylor guitars on one side, and then, or at least 2 or 3 of them, or 4, and then I'll show you a different method for doing it yourself at home if you don't have the power winder. Because really this is the main difference of the way that I do it versus a lot of people do it, is just because of the tools involved. Like I said, I showed this little guy. Anyway, so let's look at this. So for the Taylor way, if you have a winder, then you're going to take on the bass strings, you're going to take your little cutters here, and you're going to use the pegs as a measure. So on your bass side, so your low strings, your E, A, and D, you're going to go 1 peg above. Now, that's for a Taylor spacing. So Taylors, these spacings are actually a little further apart. So if it's not a Taylor, then I usually take and add just a little bit so that it's, you know, somewhere right in there. So we're talking, let me get a ruler. We're talking, yeah, that's what I figured, about 2 inches. About 2 inches above the, 2 inches above the tuner. Is about right. And so you can actually just take and just cut that. So that's your string pre-measured. Now, of course, you don't want to be doing that until you've got the bridge pin in place. You know, the string is there. You know it's good to go. So, and then they just take the winder, make sure that's set the right direction, and we're actually just going to put it through the peg a little bit, and then we're going to stick the winder on there, and we're just going to wind that down. Whoops, come on, get. There we go. That's running better. And we're just going to wind that down. We're just going to get it close. We're not looking for perfect pitch right at the moment. That's just to get it close. So then, normally what you would do, like you're doing the Taylor method, is I would put all 3 up here. I would just cut these off and then just wind them all through. Since I'm showing different methods, and I'm only doing the one at a time. Now on the treble side, move the strings out of the way. So here on the treble side, for Taylor, you would be doing a tuner and a half. So for this, since it's not a Taylor and the spacing is smaller, we're actually just going to use the second tuner. But yeah, so if you're using a Taylor guitar, then it's just a tuner and a half, and that'll give you about the same measurement. Close anyway. So this one I just take right there, second tuner, chop that off, wind it up like I did the other. And this will give you, so with this method, you're going to end up with 3 wraps on the bass side and about 6 wraps on the high side. Now that does vary a little bit because of string diameter and that type of stuff. But here, I'll wind this up real quick just to get it out of the way. Get the hole lined up, just stick it through a little bit. And as you can see, that makes for a really fast, you know, tune-up. So, you know, if you did this while you were putting, you know, all 3 bass up there, going clip, 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 throw up the treble side, clip, 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 you know, and then wind them all on, it's very, very fast. So another method that you can do for your house, for your house if you don't have a winder. Actually, here, let me grab a handle. And I'm going to put this as a hand crank so you can see doing it as a hand crank. So you could do that same method, put a hand crank on here, and you could just sit here and wind away, you know, wind and do it that way. Like, you can totally do that. The other method you can do with this that I do a lot of times if I don't, my winder died or whatever, is I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to go around the tuner at least once, and then I'm going to push it, take that in, and go through the hole. So now I've got to wind around it, and then through that hole. And sorry, my big fat finger's getting in the way. And I'm just going to pull that string through just like that. And then you're going to take your winder, or you can do this by hand, and wind that up. Now, on the bass side, you can just do a wrap. On the treble side, you'll be doing 2 or 3 wraps, which it is easier on that because it is smaller. Now, the one thing about this method, you want to bring it up to pitch before you cut these off. Before you cut these tail end off, get it all the way to pitch. And you can go ahead and put all of them on and then tune it and then cut everything. Because what happens sometimes is where you don't have as many wraps as this, then these will slip just a little bit. And so you want that little bit of extra string to, you know, get pulled down around the tuner and add those wraps. So I'll show you one on the treble side, same method. So we're just going to I'm going to put that around there, and I'm going to wind this, at least 3 times. Maybe I can get 4. And then push that down, because I want my tail end to be going through the top. Okay, and then put that through and pull that tight, just like that. And then we can put our winder on there, go the right direction, and then just wind it up. Okay. And so that's another method for doing it. Now there's a bunch of deals where guys will tell you to, you know, wrap it over, cinch it, tie a knot, put it underneath, whatever, lock it in. Now that's fine. You can do it that way. I personally don't do it that way because it tends to be really hard to take the string off when you have to change the strings again. So doing this method, there's plenty of wraps. This isn't going anywhere. It's not going to slip, slide, anything like that. There's not enough wraps that you're going to cause big issues with anything else. I'm just going to hurry and do these two with my power winder just to get them done. So for these, you know, obviously I don't have the tuners up here, but you can just kind of guess. You know, there's 2 inches for that one over here. 1, 2 tuners there. Cut there. Stick my. Oops. Get my winder back on. Now, obviously, I prefer to use my winder. And mostly that's just because it's much easier to use. Now this one's going to be a little funky because the camera tripod's actually in the way. Excuse me. So now we're going to take this tuner and I'm going to tune it, point this in a direction that you can see as I tune as well. And so this is actually, since it's with different tune than what I was talking about, just barely, that's because it's been actually a couple days since I finished this. Now this actually works off of vibration. So if I talk loud enough over here, sometimes it'll pick up something, but it's got to work off vibration. So this is supposed to be an E. We're sitting at a B. D sharp, there's E. And we're looking for that green one right in the middle. There you go, right there, just like that. Now here's your A. Oh, come on. Sometimes it'll get stuck because everything's so far out of tune. Helps you do the right tuner too. So G sharp, and there's A. Oh, a little sharp. And a little sharp right now is okay because everything's going to stretch. Oh, that one's actually a little sharp. This is G. B. Okay, and now so everything we just brought up to pitch, but now if you look at this low one, it's now a D sharp again. So that's because the neck and the top, everything's moving and relieves some of the tension on that low string. So you always have to go back again. At least twice, if not 3 times. Now even at that, these new strings are going to stretch a lot. Whoops. Get the right string. Okay, and so now that we're up to pitch on these other 2 that we did, we can actually just come in here and you can clip them tight. Just get those out of the way. And just like that, you're back. You've got your new strings on, you're all up to pitch, you're ready to play. And we can double check these again just to make sure. Yep, that's looking pretty good. Now, of course, these over the next like 2 hours of play, so that's 2 hours of playing it, these will actually break in. So the strings will actually start to sound a little different. They'll get a little more open, a little more free sounding, and they'll also stretch a lot. And so that's restringing your guitar start to finish. Now there's probably lots of other questions in there. Now if you want, if you have a question on any of this, if I miss something, which I'm known to do, I do this a lot. And so not everything, I don't think of everything, you know, to tell somebody everything. So if you see something you have a question on, you have something that you want to ask a different question, put it in the comments. Let me know, and I'm usually really good about getting back. You might have to give me a little bit of time. I am busy. You can see this is my workload. So I have lots of things to do, and I don't always get to my social stuff very quickly. But leave a comment. Usually within a day or so, I'll get back with you. Anyway, better stop. I can't talk anymore. Like I said, there you go. And we can go over sometime string types, different kinds of strings, that type of stuff. I'll be doing one for classicals. I'll do probably a couple for electrics if you want to see those. Tell me what kind. And then if someone's already commented that, put a like on there, so I can kind of see, just tally them up, see which one people want to see first. I plan on doing like Floyd Rose, Strats, Tremolos, Hardtails, that type of stuff. Anyway, hope that helps. Have fun playing. Keep smiling.